a bust of Abraham Lincoln, a bronze bust of Abraham Lincoln that a White House staffer thought was a parting gift or something like that.
Oh my God. Melania's at it, Seth.
Melania's at it. What is she doing? She's cleaning out the silver.
Yes, she's taking mementos.
Well, isn't that what hookers do? If you leave your wallet on the table, don't they leave? Don't they think that that's a parting gift?
It depends how much Trump put on the dresser.
Yeah.
There could have been some extra charges involved.
And certainly Donald Trump would be the kind of person that you would expect would know exactly what to leave on the dresser for an Eastern European hooker, don't you think?
Well, I think when it comes to water sports, he has at least an idea of the pricing.
Sure, but I mean, it's just a bust of Lincoln, and the White House, Tiffany silverware, anything that these grifters can get their hands on. That's the legacy. If they already are assuming that the legacy is going to be the worst people in the history of the United States, then what's left to lose? Why would you not take a bronze bust of Lincoln that belongs to the American people that will result in a conviction for you? Why not just add another conviction to the long list of convictions that you're going to have?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. There's really no human trait that would stop that from happening that no. I can see any evidence of in that family.
No, and the messaging, I think that, all of the things that we're going to come to grips with as a result of this Trump administration, and all of the things that we're going to learn about ourselves as a nation, not the least of which we're all going to become more conversant in the language of mental health and mass radicalization. And, and more broadly, what does positive energy and negative energy look like when broadcast to the globe? What does that look like? What are the effects of that? What is the effect of having compassionate people run your government and act compassionately when they share their worldview with a population of people that are mixed in their mental health? You look at the Republican Party. I was watching CNN this morning. Yeah, shocking. I was watching CNN this morning. I watch CNN every morning. I was watching Jeff Zucker's network this morning, and the anchor said, to the Republican, the guest was the Republican lieutenant governor, and he said, well, the Republican Party is really best off without Donald Trump and moving past Donald Trump and not being the party of Trump. Let's just not talk about Donald Trump anymore. Is essentially, the traditional Republican message about how we get past this. Much like Mary Trump said about the Trump family, we never talk about anything that went wrong ever because nothing's wrong, and you never acknowledge it. That's how they formed the fully formed adults in that family. He says, no, let's just forget about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is, it's a part of history, and we have to move past him. To which she said, hey, I couldn't help but notice the poll in Axios yesterday that indicated that 65% of the GOP still approves of Donald Trump's behavior this week. To which his reply was, what? How do I answer that? I have no answer for that. They don't have an answer for that. They have a radicalized political party that will be the out party for a generation.
So it's like asking, Seth, it's like asking the folks with the Confederate flags and not to mention Hitler. This is not going to happen. Okay. This is their forever icon.
Somebody commented already that Steve Schmidt went on a rant on Morning Joe this morning that's so worthy of watching and sharing. Whoever that is that just posted that, if you wouldn't mind grabbing the clip, if you could, and link it in the comments, I'll be happy to play it. I'm sorry, Jack, I interrupted you.
No, thank you. I think recognizing people's comments immediately is part of our duty.
Okay.
So we just had, Seth, a news flash that really hasn't hit yet. And would you mind describing what that was?
Yeah. Apparently, and this is gonna shock nobody. In a publication today called Manor, the headline is written by Nathan Bernard just this morning. The byline is from this morning. Chief of Maine's Capitol Police radicalized by far-right conspiracy theories, Russ Govin spread racist hate and deadly lies on a since-deleted Facebook page. Now, what I'm going to do, Jack, is I'm going to, just take a picture of. I'm just going to capture a picture of Russ Govin, and I'm going to share it in the group so you can, when I show you this guy's picture, you're going to think, oh yeah, that's a guy that looks like, he's sexually frustrated.
Okay.
Let me
putting it up on the screen too, Seth?
Yeah, I will be in a second, but let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
I think, just as an aside, one of the least reported causes of death in this country is a man who dies having sex with his wife.
Well, Bill Cosby, not Bill Cosby, God, tape my mouth shut. Who was it that said his father died having sex with a prostitute and he came and went at the same time?
Richard Pryor.
Yes.
Richard Pryor, the greatest comedian of all time, said that.
How could I mention Bill Cosby's name?
Well, I mean, they're from the same generation, dude. It's not.
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And the irony that that Richard Pryor was out front about all of his behaviors, and Bill Cosby was a closet rapist who drugged his victims, and then Bill Cosby's holier than thou, I don't curse on stage bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's remember Richard Pryor for who he was, the most innovative comic in history, and Bill Cosby for who he was, the most innovative rapist in history. Okay,
so one of Johan's. Oh, let's look at this guy. Yep. Remember, Seth? Can you hear me, my friend?
I can, buddy.
Okay. Remember when you talked about, which I love this morning, that the way they used to show you when you were a kid, the barber would show you pictures of the different haircuts he could do.
Yeah. That's the Republican haircut, isn't it?
The Republican haircut.
If the guy holds up the sheet of haircuts, and you can get, they used to do this over at they had it over at the Jones Boys above French and Braun. It was a little black and white, sheet, and it would show you want the little leaguer. You want the buzz cut? You want the crew cut, the little leaguer?
Yes, exactly. Or you want the long cut like the Cub Scout.
All right. Now Jimmy Haynes makes a brilliant separated at birth observation.
Yes.
This guy looks like the My Pillow guy.
He does. He's coiffed. Okay.
Look at the face, dude.
Yeah. Yep. So, okay, here it comes. There's the link. Hit it if you can. Okay.
All right. So this guy here, Russ Govin, is the chief of the Maine State Capitol Police, and he had a Facebook page, and I'm going to save you guys all of the strife of trying to figure out who this guy was. He essentially is the same guy that stormed the Capitol. He is the same guy that you meet in the Walmart line talking about Trump. He's the same guy that got kicked off a Delta flight, and is bitching about his rights being silenced. He's the same guy that won't wear a mask, and finally, when he gets COVID, makes a deathbed recanting video. I'm sorry. I should have listened. Same mentality. You should have listened about the death of our democracy too, because that's what you're doing. Okay. I'm thinking this is Patrick. Yeah, hold on a sec. I'm thinking this is Patrick that has given us the video to watch. And of course, I can't. It's not a hot link, so I can't do anything with it.
Well, you'll be able to. Let me say in the meantime that this is also the same guy that gives tours day before tours of the Capitol building, Seth.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
of course he is.
Yeah, no, and a winning conspirator.
And an enabler. Absolutely.
Right. Hey, Patrick, can you send me that link in chat, buddy? Thank you. Jack, we're going to have to have a conversation in this country about the people who are active right-wing conspirators and who are unwilling to you're a hot link. Thanks, Jimmy.
Jimmy is good, Jimmy.
Let me tell you what Jimmy's trying to do.
Hang on, Seth. What am I, Jimmy? Am I fucking chopped liver or what?
Look at yourself in the camera.
I'm looking.
No, Jimmy's trying to play nice because he caught me misspelling and using the wrong word twice last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he called me out. Jimmy was snarky yesterday. So he was on his.
I hate those fucking people that the grammar police on Facebook.
Yeah, well, we've all been cooped up for a year, Jack. We have to, I know. We gotta do it. We gotta do it. So, long story short, not shockingly, Jack, the chief of the Maine Capitol Police, yet another potential co-conspirator, anybody with an authoritarian personality, anybody in potentially anybody in the business of expressing authority over the population is susceptible to this kind of thinking and is easily radicalized.
So let me say something.
Go ahead.
The problem we have here, which is ubiquitous in the country, is that a lot of the people that you're describing gravitate to the police. I hate to say it. I don't want to alienate my friends, but this, just like in Nazi Germany, where all the police became brown shirts. Okay. So what we're looking at here, and I have a lot of cop friends, but I have to say, we will have to start purging the police. And you're going to see Facebook pages that's just like this mouth breather, that as soon as he was interviewed by Maine, he took down his Facebook page.
Yeah.
You're going to start to see that. So when you see a cop taking down a Facebook page, it should be investigated.
Yeah. And I tell you, while we experience a feeling of hopelessness around this issue, it should be said that technology is our way out of this. Yes. Technology is just like Lady Liberty. Technology is blind. Yes. The camera that is attached to your phone records a picture without the benefit of editorializing.
True. And I hate that, Seth. I hate that. And Jimmy says grammar police are the most racist types. That's true, Jimmy. And you know something, between you and I got your I got your grammar police right here. Okay, buddy.
Jackie doesn't like the grammar police. I don't know.
I've got your hot link.
This is a subject for this is easily a subject for a day when we don't have as much to talk about. Jack,
what, something in 2026?
Maybe. I don't know. Let's start this way. What potentially could have happened is the Capitol Police could have had some kind of action taken against our sitting governor while there was a protest outside. Easily could have happened. Now, is that something was just caught here and is going to happen around the country on January 20th. Now, the notices about armed insurrection are not getting any quieter. They're getting louder. And of course, there's no end game that these people have in sight. What is it going to be? What is your potential end game that you hope to achieve when you have this insurrection? We don't need to see Steve Schmidt's face, but I'm going to show you Steve Schmidt's face as he does this rant that Patrick shared with us. I haven't seen it yet. It could be fun. Let's see. I'm going to push it to the staging portion, and let's see what Steve Schmidt has to say. And why don't we all just very quietly listen to Steve?
Bring in Steve Schmidt. Steve, earlier today, Jim Messina said, when I talked about reconciliation, because, again, I said this yesterday, it's just whenever I was in the law, I always think there's a deal to be made. I always think there's a way that we can come together. I always think there's a way that we move forward. And sometimes I'm far too naive. But when I said this, Jim Messina said, well, you're right, but we must start by telling the truth. And I said Lincoln Project should come up with 5 simple phrases that every member of Congress should sign off on, and every member of the media should ask, do you believe this election was stolen? Do you believe there's a conspiracy theory of leftists who are cannibals and child rapists? Do you, whatever your 5 are, that stops Kevin McCarthy from being able to have it both ways. Tell me what you think about that idea and what those questions might be. And also talk about Kevin McCarthy and the Jim Crow tactics he used over the past few weeks.
Good morning, Joe. It's good to be with you. I was just listening to you and was reminded about the reality that the first act of the first Congress was to prescribe an oath to federal officials. And here was the oath. I do solemnly swear or affirm to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. Full stop. That's the question that's on the table. These men, these women are unfaithful to their oath of office. They have turned faithless with regard to American democracy. They have poisoned faith and belief in the legitimacy of the system. And what Kevin McCarthy did on June the 6th is he rose as the leader of House Republicans for the vile cause of throwing out, discarding, eradicating millions and millions of black votes from the states who had certified their elections. That is the definition of a new Jim Crow. It wasn't even the pretense of if you can guess how many jelly beans are in the jar, then you get to vote. It was a federal action taken by the Congress, led by the Republican leader, in the name of retaining the loser of the presidential election, a fascist named Donald Trump, who incited violence against the people of the United States as the capital of the United States fell to a seditious mob. And Kevin McCarthy stood up there and voted to throw out millions of black votes. And here's his problem. And here's the problem for Republicans. About $200 million of corporate money flowed into the campaign coffers of the super PACs, of the leadership funds. Every one of those companies has put out statements in favor of racial justice over the course of this last summer and these last years. They've all put out statements in favor of Black Lives Matter. They've all denounced the killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. They've all set goals in their company to empower their black employees. And all of those companies have millions of black customers and thousands of black employees. And none of those companies ever again can write a check to the group of political leaders that sought to throw out the votes for no good reason. In fact, the claims were rejected in 68 federal court decisions, voted to throw them out. So corporate America can never, ever support these people again. We have a fascistic enterprise alive and well in America. We have an autocratic movement that's supported by 42%. And before we talk about reconciliation, we must talk about accountability, and we must talk about justice, and we must talk about the punishment for the violence done to the government of the United States. There are only 2 ways to win a fight. You can bring your opponent to submission, or your opponent can bring you to exhaustion. When you think about losing a fight through exhaustion, you think about the United States in Iraq or Afghanistan or in Vietnam. When you think about submission, you think about what happened to the South in the Civil War. You think about Germany and Japan. And so our offer on the table for the seditionists is a fight where we will bring you to submission. This must be crushed. This must be annihilated. This illiberalism, this undemocratic moment must be met head on.
Hey, thanks so much for watching
our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news.
I don't think you can say it any better than that.
Can you hear me, Seth?
Yeah.
Okay. That was extremely powerful. Let me get back to this. Now that this guy has been outed in the Capitol Police, do you not feel, because of the threat of every state capital being overrun from these yo-yos, don't you feel that right now, as we speak, many states are looking into the same phenomena because our dear friend Mikey from New Jersey pointed out that she had seen it, and the reason she pointed it out was she'd been in the military.
Yep.
And she said they were trained, if they saw somebody a little sketchy hanging around a helicopter or doing something, to report it. So they were trained to be vigilant.
Yep.
And it's wonderful. And you know something, Seth, that is happening on every state level, that you have these empowerment people, whether they're in the state legislature or they're police, who are going to enable these demonstrations.
Yeah. So what Steve Schmidt just said, and what we are required to take up as a mantle as Americans, this is the crystallization of my idea of what has to happen in this country. It's the answer to why you put the Black Lives Matter sign on your lawn. You have to say, as an American, I value my Constitution. It doesn't matter that 44% of the people in this country are fascists. There are 56% of the people in this country that are not fascists. It's up to us to come together and bring this 44% to their knees and keep them on their knees until they're gone. We have to beat their teeth down their fucking throats politically. When somebody runs for office, as happened in November here, that is a fascist, that is a Trumper, they are an enemy of the United States Constitution, and they must be beaten. When the chief of the Maine State Capitol Police, who gets paid with our tax dollars, becomes an enemy of our Constitution and is radicalized, that person can no longer serve in law enforcement because there is a position of trust.
That's a funny comment, Seth.
It is. And by the way, I apologize for the echo. And thank you, Patrick, for saying that that's why there's two old white guys that matter in Maine. We'll be down there, by the way. We're coming to Chelsea, buddy. Jack and I are going to make that to Chelsea one day.
Now, we're so serious, Seth. Don't you think it's time to go to what? Stupid in the News.
Ready for Stupid in the News, Jack?
Yes.
All right, here we go. There's your screen.
Here we go. This is Stupid in the News.
All right, what's the stupid, Jack?
Well, let's look at some pictures, Seth.
Why not?
Okay. Transit worker Will Pepe, 31. He took what Trey calls a felony selfie. There he is. Very happy with himself. He will be unemployed quite soon. And then we have, that's something else. And then we have another wonderful thing, which we'll get back to. Just take a little break here.
Did Trump's doctor die?
Yes, he died
What a
at
shame.
73.
Well, the medical profession will never be the same.
And look what he left for you and I. Okay, now, stupid in the news.
Cholesterol.
Here we go. Stupid news. Arrested for taking an AR-15 and a samurai sword to Philadelphia vote count center. Okay, they were arrested at the Capitol. Look at those faces. We're looking at stupid in the news. And speaking of that, how about Eric Munchell from Nashville with his wire ties? Nice picture, buddy. I bet you thought you looked good. And of course, Melania suffered too. That's old news. That's something we'll have to talk about. And here's my favorite. And I don't know his name, but look at that face with the baseball cap turned around backwards.
That's a face that says, I never get laid.
Oh, talk about an incel. Here is a guy that's, guess what? Been arrested. Okay, he's going to have fun in prison. But anyway, I want to share a picture of Mikey because I love her. She's the one that busted all these people. Here's really stupid in the news. John Voight, 82, thanks Trump for his 4 years in office and calls for unity and says the fight to overturn the election is not done. When did John Voight lose his fucking mind, Seth?
I don't know. But is that the end of the segment, Bud?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted you certainly to comment. We do have a couple of videos, Seth. Let's not forget.
We do have a couple of videos. So John Voight has managed to make Midnight Cowboy even more unwatchable.
Isn't it, though? I mean, if you look at Rick Moranis in the movie theater, wasn't he the spitting image of that judge's son from Brooklyn?
Yeah. I don't know. On the right, they always say, I don't need to hear a Hollywood starlet, the Hollywood elite talk about politics. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to agree. Ronald Reagan was our first clue that something terrible was afoot. Jack, once again, our core thesis that the 44% of America, these Trumpists, our chief of our Capitol, Galvin, who you and I have mutual friends with, Russ Galvin. All of these people are screaming and yelling as the river of change increases in pace, and they cannot take it. They cannot. These are not people that are capable of dealing with change. For whatever reason it is, they can't deal with change. They can't deal with change because they have an inability to emotionally process that which is threatening to them. And it seems to me that is the unifying emotional theme. That and the definitive emotional theme with fascists and authoritarians, an inability to create compassion for other human beings. The attitude is either fuck you and fuck everybody who thinks like you, or a sense of inclusiveness where we understand what the American dream actually is. The difference between people that think that you don't desecrate our flag because it represents some kind of symbol and the power is in the flag, or people understand the flag represents a series of ideas, and that those ideas are the thing that keep us together, and that it's our responsibility as citizens to keep those ideas alive. The dollar bill that you hold up has no intrinsic value. It's the agreement between all of us and the government that keeps the dollar bill a unit of commerce. The same thing goes for our Constitution. We have a three-way partnership with that commercial agreement. I hand you $1, you hand me a candy bar, and the federal government guarantees that that's what's going to be transacted, that dollar has the value of 100 pennies. It's a three-way relationship that all three parties have to agree to in order for it to function. Well, in order for our government to function, these idiots have to change their way of thinking. We can't carry them anymore. We have got to punch them in the mouths, knock their teeth down their throats, and keep our metaphorical knees on their necks to be able to function as a democracy. Because this,
okay,
let me finished.
Okay, but let me chime in here, Seth. Let me be a bit of an optimist for once. The thing that they are the most afraid of, the thing they cannot deal with, the thing they cannot understand, the thing they cannot accept, one word, Seth: change. So let me throw this out, because that is the one constant that not only is going to not change, it is going to accelerate. So you have this one thing that threatens them, and it is unstoppable, like an out-of-control train. What do you think that's going to do to them?
It doesn't, they will continue to be, if you think about the metaphor, they are grabbing onto the shore for their life as the river picks up pace. It will, by definition, rip them apart until
that's what I'm saying. That's why I am being an optimist about this, Seth. These same forces that have caused this are going to accelerate and rip them apart.
And technology will be the cause and the leveling agent if we're lucky. If not, technology will be used for purposes that are not so wonderful. I went outside yesterday and the day before, and I live in the mid-coast of Maine, as do most of our viewers. And Jack, it was 40 degrees yesterday in the mid-coast of Maine in the middle of January, and that recently hasn't been unusual.
Yes.
Every sense, physical sense, that these people employ tells them change is happening and it's somebody else's fault. I can't deal with it. I feel it on my skin. I feel the change. I smell it. I see it. I taste it. There are new foods that I'm forced to reconcile. There are new tastes and flavors, new ethnic influences. Even here in the country, I'm forced to deal with it. I see on my screen every minute of every day people who are more articulate than I am, people who are smarter than I am, have different ideas. I have no alternative, Jack, but to disappear into a fictional world of my own making. Excuse me, not of my own making. A fictional world where a game designer in Russia who took on the name QAnon has created a game that plays the players, not the players play the game. QAnon offers up tidbits of clues that lead to a conclusion, one which is promoted by our political enemies from without and from within. And that is that a overthrow of the United States government that no longer serves these people, occupied by pedophiles and lizard people hybrids.
Seth, do you remember the game Myst?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Did you play it?
For 30 seconds until I realized that I didn't want to play it anymore.
It was the most addicting game at the time. And for those who haven't played it, this is years ago.
Immersive.
It is a game that doesn't involve any people, and all you do is travel around this wonderful fantasy environment looking for clues of what happened. There are no other people. It is brilliant. It is the most. There weren't any there weren't any guns, there weren't any shooters, there weren't any other people. All you did is look for clues. And for a lot of people, it was amazingly addictive, including me. Now, what's happening now is more like Myst than it is like any of these other first-person shooter games. Because as you say, and this is one of the ideas that you passed by me that I thought was so brilliant the other day, the fact that they have created, when I say they, I am talking about the Russians. And it feels, if you're paranoid, but trust me, I know who Putin is, and the guy's a super genius. They have created the same kind of game. And what you do, and this is all Pavlovian conditioning and reinforcement, okay? You provide little clues for people, okay, about the pizzeria pedophile, whatever it is. But these clues are simple enough for the simplest American to latch on to. I mean, they're not difficult things because they've got to be kept simple. But the thing about it is that Joe Sixpack latches on to this clue and feels like a genius because he had discovered a clue to what's really going on. And from a behavioral psychology point of view, it is genius because you empower the player. Okay.
Let me ask you to engage in a conversation about this then. If that's the case, if what you're suggesting is what we're suggesting here is the case, then how do you the only way you can reconcile that is to admit that we're not talking about a product of IQ, we're talking about emotional intelligence here. And that you'd necessarily have to be having some kind of damaged or ruptured emotional state in order to buy this. Somebody who may have been emotionally grounded at one point in their life has had an emotional trauma or an ongoing emotional trauma that leads to these types of fantastic notions. In other words, these people, what I'm thinking about is Chief Galvin at the Maine State Capitol Police. Here's somebody who obviously had to experience a great deal of secondary education and pass it in order to get that position. So that's not an IQ question. The man can take a standardized test and think on his feet. The question is, what happened intellectually to him, culturally? And when we say emotional intelligence, we have got to recognize that a major component of our emotional intelligence is our cultural interactions.
Okay, let me address that. My perspective is a little bit different, but it's not contrary to what you're saying.
And we've got about 20.
If you have,
by the way,
if you have a population, okay, of people who feel that they're superior and feel that they're unique, that they're American, that they must have a trophy for everything, and they're entitled. Okay, you have an entitled population. Do you not think that given media, given change, given progress, given everything that's happened, they are not at some point going to feel disenfranchised? So it's not a bad childhood. It's the fact that a majority of the people feel, or a lot of them feel, disenfranchised. In other words, they are not being given what they are due. And that's who these people are. They're not the result of broken homes, emotional trauma. They're not a result of this. This is the average American who, because he didn't get the assistant manager's position, feels disenfranchised, and he's looking for a reason to explain this to himself.
I don't even know if it's because he didn't get the assistant manager position. I think it's a lifetime and an existence of immersion in a culture that no longer speaks to that person's understanding of what their culture is.
I agree.
And rapidly that these people have been jarred into a disassociative state. Collectively.
That's true. That's true. And somebody just commented, somebody just wanted to zing me because they said, you mean 99% of the people graduating from the Ivy League colleges today? I didn't graduate, you fucker.
No. No. And that's because people that go to Ivy League colleges are taught how to think, not what to think.
They are taught more how a leader acts.
Right.
Because that's the reason they call them prep schools, because you're being prepped to lead the country. How do you act? That's what made Princeton one of the reasons so fucking intolerable. You talk about entitlement. This is the 60s, Seth. You talk about in prep school. Holy shit.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that a Faber College rehash is something that's going to serve you very well today.
You know, and I empathize with this right-wing movement. The problem the Republicans have always had, and they still do in spades, they don't see who the real enemy is.
It's because it's them, Jack.
I think you're right.
It's them.
I think you're right.
The enemies, they are the enemies, the ultimate manifestation of the GOP, which no longer stands for the Grand Old Party. It stands for the Grotesque Obscenity Party. That's what the GOP stands for now. The Grotesque Obscenities Party.
Seth, there was something you wanted me to remind you of mentioning, expression you came up with this morning. What it was? It has to do with freezing or cold or.
Oh! You mean the 44% of
It was
people.
What did you call them? The freeze? You just froze up on me. Seth.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, God's frozen people.
Yes, God's frozen people.
Yeah,
I love that.
It no longer refers to just WASPs. It refers to all Republicans. Hey, Jack, is it just on a religious basis? Are there more white Anglo-Saxon Protestants in the GOP now, or Southern Baptists? Because I think I know the answer to that.
Tell me, because I don't know.
Because I think it's the Southern Baptists and the crazy that goes along with that has stoked the fires of this of what we in the Jewish community call the mushigas of Republican politics.
So tell me, Lindsey Graham did another flip the other day.
Dude, Lindsey Graham doesn't know what to do because they got everything on him. He frequents male prostitutes in DC. It's the loudest rumor in the town, and he's got a political career where he's from a conservative state. So as soon as they find out that he likes boys, and they see those pictures of him with boys that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin obviously have their hands on, then it's game over. And I think that's a disgrace, to be honest with you. I've said it before. I think Lindsey Graham should be allowed to be out and proud. But if he is out and proud, maybe that would require a couple of policy position adjustments.
Seth, you're right.
I had to skip at 1 o'clock because I have a conference call. So I just want to pray.
Oh, shit. Okay. So you just shout out, Seth, when that's about to happen.
Yep.
So let me ask you. So we're in a situation now where 44% of the electorate, or 2/3 of Republicans, are a Trump voter bloc. What is the fight? We've already seen it start between Cruz and Hawley. What is the fight going to look like to try to inherit these people?
I tell you what it's going to be. There's going to be a long-term. You can't have a political party without political authority. You can't. And the GOP has demonstrated to the rest of us that they simply cannot be allowed to govern in their current iteration. Regardless of whether it's Donald Trump, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, none of these people can be allowed to ascend to public office. Not saying that Ted Cruz would refuse to relinquish power because Ted Cruz has a criminal past, because Ted Cruz is an asset of Russia, because of any of these things, because Ted Cruz would go to jail after his term, as Donald Trump will. But the next person who seizes this mantle will hopefully be doing it 30 years from now, because I think that's how long in the wilderness the GOP will have to spend. This rupture, this political rupture within the GOP, is as compelling as the political rupture in the Democratic Party when the Democrats lost the South. And now the Democrats are regaining the South because of demographic shift. And I have to tell you that it's coming down to a multicultural population in the United States, as the United States is what the world will consider the United States, not the white United States, a multicultural, multiracial spectrum of people finally realizing what the founders intended for our country, versus a white fascistic idea of the United States, which is not based on any discernible policy objectives, just a cult of personality around Donald Trump and fascist authoritarianism. Those are our two choices. And I think the GOP has made it abundantly clear to anybody who will listen that they cannot be allowed to govern. And I think that dwindling portion of our population, because remember, it's made up of old white people, mostly, and crazy ladies in airports.
So Seth,
I don't know.
Let me give you the image now of, as Trey would call them, the best mayonnaise watching television now. I don't watch many commercials. I do watch the news. Look at the number of brown and black people, not only on the news, the commercials. All of a sudden, it isn't the token black guy, which we used to do when we did commercials. We need a token black guy. Every commercial needed one. It is 30-second commercial with a black family, or so our mayonnaise cellar dweller, although he doesn't realize this is happening, knows intuitively. So he's clinging to the shore of your stream that's going faster and faster, tidal wave bubbling undertow. He's clinging, and then you throw in more diverse electorate. And all of a sudden, just when he thinks he has a grip on the rock, he is swept away.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, Seth. When I talk about change, the acceleration of change, and as elegantly as you put it, the diversification, what is America going to be? He sees it. He sees it. And if he's smart enough not to see it, he feels it. This is what is bothering the Trump voter, Seth.
It's inevitable. And no matter what they do, they could destroy the United States of America. They could destroy our Constitution. It's still going to happen. Black people are still going to have babies. Mexican people are still gonna have babies and move to this country. Hi, Martha. I'm sorry that this is an inconvenient happenstance, but that this is the nature of what happens in this world. Nothing stays the same, and the uptake of technology has absolutely disjointed these people. But that's not our problem. But
Seth, why are they acting the way they do? Is because, motherfucker, you are out too late. You are out too late. You know, you've left the cellar. You've left the cellar too late. You were too stupid, and your reaction is too stupid, and you're too late. There's no way you're going to stop it. And if you keep trying, you're going to get stepped on and squashed like a bug.
Time's up. And it's and time's not going to wait for them. History is not going to wait for them. And these people, and this is it. This is how it looks. These people are the traitors to our nation. They will be remembered as traitors to our nation. And it feels like emotionally, everybody watching this show right now, and you and I, it feels like this is the end of something. It's not the end of anything. It's the beginning of something. It's the beginning of a major reshuffling of the American political deck of cards. You'll see new parties being formed. You'll see new wings within the Democratic Party. You'll see the Republican Party become a permanent minority, the same way that the Le Pen party in France has become a permanent out party. You know, that it happens in politics. It has to happen in politics. It can't not happen. You have people who are going to be, there are large numbers of them. They'll be loud, but just know that in a time of COVID, when the other side is forced into its house, nobody can come out and demonstrate in the street, aside from the mouth breathers who refuse to wear masks. Wait and see what happens after Biden is elected and the messaging changes. Wait and see what happens to that 44%.
So, Seth, these people feel disenfranchised. That's the big word. Just wait. You want to see disenfranchisement? Keep acting the way you do. You've suffered nothing yet compared to what you're going to suffer on the disenfranchised plane.
I can't wait. I can't wait for these, the guy from Waterville, Robert Isgro, the Nazi mayor of Waterville.
LePage?
He's permanently out of politics now. No, it's his right hand, his local right hand man, Robert Isgro. He is out of politics now permanently, or so he says. I just am interested in seeing what the Republican candidates in 2022 start to look like, and what message they could possibly bring. There are people who are leaving the Republican Party in droves, and you're going to see more of it. You're going to see more of it. You're going to see Mitch McConnell punished for his behavior. You're going to see an and what you're going to see is an unapologetic uptake of democratic ideas. Finally, re-enhancing of the social safety net, ideas about healthcare, ideas about race relations, ideas about voting rights. All of these things are going to be enacted within the next 2 years, and they're going to continue to be enacted, and Republicans are going to continue to be out of power. And there's a reason. And the reason is they did it to themselves. And the reason is because this is who they've always been. It was who they were in Reagan. It was who they were with Newt Gingrich. It was who they were with Little Marco. It's who they are with Ted Cruz, and you've seen that. And you've seen the white power salutes and the white power symbols. It's who these people are. And they've shown themselves, and they failed, and they killed their own party. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you. Now we know who you are, and you're going to pay for it. And the gloves are off, and you've lost the right to have us take you seriously. Your judges that you've just nominated to federal benches are going to be perceived as a great mistake in American history because the wrong people put them there. Wait for the backlash, because there's more of us than there are of them. It doesn't matter how many guns they have. It does not matter how many guns they have. Stop being scared. Start kicking ass and taking names smartly. Do it. Everybody in their own community, you have an obligation to defeat Republicans where you see them. You almost have an obligation to boycott Republican businesses at this point. You certainly have an obligation to boycott Trump businesses at this point.
Seth, let me just say to end the show, praise Jesus.
We'll have a little prayer. Lord Jesus. I don't know what happened to your children, Lord Jesus. I don't know how they were led astray by the charlatans.
Save us from the cellar dwellers.
Speaking of cellar dwellers, fucking greasy-haired incel douchebags with their automatic weapons storming the Capitol, standing on the steps, waving their stupid flags made in China that will age poorly. In the beginning of an age of technology where everybody in the world is going to see their faces for the rest of their lives, your fucking life is ruined, mouth breather. Congratulations.
You know what I'd love is Trey saying felony selfie.
A felony selfie. Yeah, the answer is, yeah, we're going to build that many prisons to house you motherfuckers.
Oh,
You know what?
love it.
We know they've been, Martha says they've been brainwashed and programmed. Yes, they have. And the truth of the matter is, deprogramming, and I said maybe we'll close the show this way, deprogramming can be done a couple of different ways. The way it's going to happen is harm reduction. Harm reduction means you reduce the amount of harm that they can do to themselves and that we can do to them.
Mm-hmm.
Harm reduction. Yes, Hornman is using Trump as his defense. That'll go well for Trump. Harm reduction, cold turkey, or hot lead. Those are the ways we fix that. All right, we're going to end the show on that note. Jackie boy, I will see you again on these same airwaves on Monday. And then we
Great
will,
to see you.
Yeah, man. And then I'll catch up with you between then and now. But I will see you all again on Monday. I will put the shows up on YouTube, so they'll be there.
Seth,
I've been delinquent in that.
And also let's remind them that we do in our arsenal have a couple of wonderful videos from airports where Trumpers have been told they're on the no-fly list.
Yeah, we're gonna do a compilation between then and now. It'll be a best of. It'll be we'll call it Republican skank milfs in handcuffs. Maybe we'll get more clips that way. All right, I'll talk to you later, bud.
Be good. Take care.
Bye, everybody.